Hi, everybody. It's Matt from Discover College Soccer. I hope you're enjoying the podcast, whether that's on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I also wanted to let you know about the Discover College Soccer Study Table. This is our brand new online portal that is complete with a 14-part online course giving you all of the ins and outs of the college soccer recruiting process. There's also a wealth of resources such as checklists, templates. There's the spreadsheets that have every soccer program in the country, along with their coaches, their contact information, their social media information, some basic stats about the school, and more. Plus, there's an online community where you can ask your questions, share your wins, your losses, any questions that you may have around the college soccer recruiting process. It's all there at the Discover College Soccer study table that you can find at discovercollegesoccer.com/study table, and hopefully we will see you there. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Pete from West Liberty. Welcome, Coach.
Thanks very much for having me, Matt. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Um, I know you've just recently gotten the crown, the head coaching role. I know you're on staff last year, but you've moved into the big seat, so it'll be your job probably. Well, it's tough getting the job in May. I was in that boat. I think I got my coaching job officially started in July, so it was a terrible time for recruiting. So let's start talking about recruiting. I mean, I'm guessing because you're on staff already, you've been involved in the recruiting process for this year. How did that go?
Yeah, it went pretty well. Obviously, it's sometimes a little bit of a challenge when players don't know um, who the coach is going to be. But thankfully, we managed to get um, some good players in ahead of fall, and we've added a couple transfer players as well. Um, One came actually in the spring season, so she was with us during the spring season. And then we've added one this summer. So um, again, just how the women's college soccer game works, you're already starting on 2024. So a lot of those players have already started committing places. We had our first verbal last week for 24. So it's more about now just building forward for that 2024 class.
Okay. Well, as you start, and I guess we'll talk more in future tense here, as you start to look at 24s and even 25s when that June 15th date hits, what what is your focus in terms of, are there events that you want to make sure you get to each year? Do you have a specific opinion on leagues? I know some people get caught up in ECNL versus GA versus all the other leagues. What's your overview of that kind of part of the recruiting process?
Yeah, I think ultimately we want to try and create and get the best players possible, the best players available. Which league that comes from, I don't think is all that important. Perhaps sometimes the level of competition at a certain level um might place those players in more direct competition with each other on a regular basis. But I definitely think there's good players at every level. So I think it's important that you're able to explore those levels. I think for us, just being out and being seen, um, and getting out there and seeing as much games and as many tournaments as possible, and just getting our name out there, getting West Liberty University out there, and kind of advocating for what our program and what our school can give to players.
So with you being kind of in that, I guess we'll call it mid-Atlantic, not quite Midwest there,
Mhm.
uh, are there events that you want to make sure that you get to, no matter what, to see players at?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a few big ones relatively close to here. There's a lot of teams go to the Blue Chip Showcase in Cincinnati. We've been to that one in the past. I was actually at Crossroads out in Indiana a few weeks ago. Again, it's a little bit further for us, but a lot of teams from in and around our region, club teams. So I was certainly impressed with the level there. So that'll be somewhere I think no doubt we'll be looking to return to. And there's of course there's ones during the fall like the Bethesda Cup out in Maryland is a big tournament, and relatively close to where we are too. So I think those three would probably be some of the main ones, and then there's always ones that pop up every weekend that seem to be ones that in and around our area which we can go in of high quality as well.
Okay. Well, I know it's obviously a little late in terms of timing and with your just coming on
Mhm.
as coach, but do you plan on doing any ID camps, or you or any of your staff working camps? Does that become a part of your recruiting process at all?
ID camps typically haven't really been part of our recruiting process. I think the main reason for that, Matt, would be just because at the D2 level, you are able to invite players in to train with you. I always think that's a better idea of where they're going to fit into your system and how they're going to fit how you play. Um, I think that's one of the big advantages sometimes that D2 has, the ability that you are able to come practice with a team. I think that's a really good thing for us as coaches because, we might see a great player or, playing with their club team, but if they come train and they're maybe just not quite the right fit or they don't fit the style of play or how you want to do things, then you can get a better insight. I think that's tough as well from an ID camp perspective. The majority of the time, there's no guarantee. If those happen in the summer, how available are your current players going to be able to interact with those players? So typically, not a lot on the ID camps. It might be something that we look to do as we progress, but certainly in the current stage, I think we're just going to continue with the model of getting players on campus to visit campus and then also train with the team.
Okay. Well, earlier you mentioned transfers, but besides transfers, obviously I don't hear that West Virginia accent on you at all, but it looks like on your roster you got a handful of international players. So how does international recruiting and the transfer portal kind of work into your overall recruiting mix?
Yeah, so I think in terms of international recruitment, um, we've been kind of able to amass a list of contacts throughout the globe, and you get numerous emails a day for players looking to come out to America. I think definitely for the vast majority of players in these other countries, their goal is to come to the States and play college soccer. So I think um, the amount that you're exposed to is very good. And we're just trying to maybe go and shop into different markets where we maybe haven't been before, and try and pull some gems out of nowhere. So I think it's important. I think to broaden the kind of your scale of your recruitment gives you a bigger player pool to pick from. So that's certainly what we're looking to do with internationals in the future. In terms of the transfer portal, I mean, um, it's a crazy world to say the least. I think there was some crazy stat I seen going around about the amount of players that went in a certain amount of time. But it was a lot. But I think when we go into the transfer portal, it's about picking the right pieces. And again, what I think the advantage is of like a transfer portal, is it maybe gives you an opportunity to get some players into your program that do bring a little bit of experience, and send that we as a program, especially last year, we had a lot of younger players that played a lot of minutes, which was great, and they fully deserved it. But I think sometimes in certain games we maybe lacked a little bit of know-how when we got down the stretch in some games, and in certain key moments. So I think if you can bring in a transfer that's experienced it, maybe they're a grad transfer or they have a couple years college experience under their belt, I think that's always beneficial.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, after all of that we've talked about, what of any of those things, whether it's you're at a recruiting event or a high school game or anything, what are the hierarchy of things that you're looking for in a player that makes you want to make that offer to play at West Liberty?
I think I think obviously technical ability. You want to see that they're, you know, in terms of their passing, their control, their dribbling, all the basics of the game you're looking for for that to be at a strong level. Tactically, how are they? Do they just rely purely on physical, strengths such as maybe speed or strength, or are they, cleverer and trying to outthink their opponent? I think about maybe a centre back. Do they just rely on being able to outmuscle everybody and be physically stronger, or are they clever enough to drop off 5 yards when the striker looks to run behind and cut off some space for them? So I think you're looking for the technical ability, the tactical ability, and again, you're looking for somebody that's going to be confident and confident in their own abilities and willing to go show themselves in a proper way. That term showcase is thrown around a lot in tournaments and events, but I think sometimes maybe the players are a little bit scared almost to show themselves and be different. But I do think that's what I'm looking for. Somebody who's want to be brave and get on the ball and make things happen for the team. And again, I think as long as we can combine that both with the academic side of things, of course, is very important. If we can get both sides, it's an added bonus for us.
Okay. Well, let's shift gears a little bit, talk more about
Mhm.
the school itself. I'm sure there's folks out there who aren't familiar with West Liberty in West
Mhm.
Virginia. I grew up in Ohio, driving I-70 many times, so I know its relative location. But you've been there now a little bit, so can you tell me what are some of the things you found about the school that you really enjoy, that you think are awesome? Some of the things maybe we wouldn't know just by going through the website.
Yeah, well, I think it's just the we're almost like our own little community up here. The college, it's a really small town, but the college really is the town. And I think we're really at the heart of this community. Um, and I think we play a huge role in how the community operates and the students, staff, faculty, coaches, everybody included. We all know each other. We all work together. There's a lot of cooperation, which sometimes don't always see at every college. So I think that's one of the real benefits that I've seen is that real sense of community.
No, that's terrific. Well, for a lot of inbound student athletes, making the adjustments of being a college athlete and making sure you get your school studies taken care of can be difficult. So, how do your student athletes really balance the rigors of their academics and their sport? And what kind of support systems does the school offer to help that?
So we have various tutoring services on campus where for various subjects that the students are able to use. We actually have one or two girls that are involved being tutors themselves. So I think that's a real bonus to have people that are already in that kind of system and know how it operates and are able to communicate that with incoming players. Um, I think as well one of the big things that we have um, on campus counselling. So if there are any issues, um, no matter how serious or no matter how small they might be perceived to be, they're able to get that counselling on a regular basis for a variety of issues. There's also um, opportunities to use our Arts and Education Centre, which I think is a fantastic resource that we have here on campus. It's basically a kind of one-stop shop for anything with regards to education and being creative. So it's open to anybody, regardless of staff, faculty, or student, regardless of their major. And they're able to go there and use a lot of materials to make different things. So, for example, if a business student perhaps had a business proposal that they wanted to make on a poster board or a piece of card, they're able to go do that and use all those materials free of charge, which of course in a college campus sometimes isn't always available. But they have everything there, regardless of a major. So I think there's a lot of um, support systems here, and obviously you have the support systems within the team. From in terms of the other players and coaches and staff and everybody else that works around the university. So I think we have a lot of options when it comes to support.
No, that's great. Well, let's fast forward a few months from now, and it's middle of season, you're
Mhm.
rocking and rolling. Can you walk me through what a typical week might look like in terms of when is class, when are meals, when is practice, kind of what's the game cadence look like? What would a student athlete expect in their season at West Liberty?
Right. So our class schedule typically matches between around 9 in the morning to around about 3:30. That's when the typical classes run. Now, depending on your schedule, you might have one or two evening classes and selective kind of majors. Um, our games typically in the fall are Wednesday and Sunday, so that's typically how they fall. And obviously, we're mandated to give them one day off a week. Typically, we do that as a Thursday. And the reason being for that is that gives us Monday, Tuesday to prepare for the Wednesday game. And it also gives us Friday, Saturday to prep for the Sunday game. Monday typically will be a recovery session because you've played just on the Sunday. Tuesday is a game prep session ahead of the Wednesday game. Thursday, obviously, you have your day off. Friday is probably the only day of the week where you can do somewhat of a more intense session. So that'll probably be in terms of intensity of training. That'll probably be our hardest session of the week, just because you've had that day off on the Thursday. And then Saturday is another game prep session ahead of the Sunday. So really in terms of high intensity training, um, for 90 minutes or beyond, that's typically Friday's going to be your toughest day because every day it comes thick and fast as you well know. So you don't really have time. It's one of the good things I really enjoy about college soccer is you don't have time to dwell on the previous result. You need to refocus and re-energize and be ready for the next one.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Well, let's talk a little bit more on the soccer side. I guess this
Mhm.
could have gone back to recruiting, but is is there a roster size that you find is ideal that you would like to hit each year?
Yeah, so typically we sit around about 31, 32 players. And usually we have around four goalkeepers on the team. So it gives us around about 28 field players. We always like to have enough players so that if we wanted to do 11v11 in training, we can. Whether that be just a straight up 11v11 game or maybe we're working on some shaping exercises, etc. But I think that's a good size. Ultimately, you want to make it as competitive as possible. So, um, having I've worked at other places where we've had 50, 60 players on a roster, and I think that's tough because it becomes really hard to manage everybody. I think the one of the goals as a head coach is trying to keep everybody happy, and I think uh, around about the number we get a good balance between trying to keep everyone happy, but then also having that level of competition and squad depth, which of course is big, especially with how short the season is. If you pick up a few injuries, that 30 can become close to 20 pretty quickly. So I think that's probably ideal for us.
Okay. Well, it's probably a bit early of a question to ask, but staff, obviously you were on the staff earlier, but now you're the
Yeah.
head coach. So can you just give us a quick overview of what you foresee the staff to look like for the fall season?
Yeah, so we're in the beginnings of finding a new assistant coach for the program, and we're looking to get that word out to people, and we're looking to fill that position obviously before the preseason, so before August, ideally, we'd have somebody in place, and yeah, so just looking to continue that, and bring in an assistant coach who kind of fits our mentality, is going to be a good fit for the program, who's hungry, who's wanting to um, succeed, and somebody who has the same or similar philosophy as what I have on the game. Um, so yeah, looking to bring another person in soon, and I'm looking forward to going through that whole process now on the other side of things, having been through it, applied for a different position. So it'll be interesting, and I'm excited for the process to start up.
Okay. Well, in terms of um, your style of coaching and the style of play that you kind of expect to put into place, what does that look like? What could players expect from that?
I think an attacking approach. You know, I think your style of play as a coach is you take little bits of your experience as a player and you try and morph it into what you kind of think. And any team that I've ever played on since I was 9 years old, all the way up to college, has always been a team that wanted to pass the ball and play through the thirds or whatever you want to call it. But ultimately, a team that wants to attack and wants to try and win every game that they're in. Um, I think the way that you do that is how you train. So it has to be a style of play that's implemented in training in order to put that into practice in a game. Um, and I think you've got to be on the front foot. So kind of relentless in your approach. Um, looking to almost overwhelm the opposition and create opportunities and score goals. That's kind of how you win games. And then obviously on the defensive side of the game, can you make it as difficult for opposition as possible? How quickly can you transition from attack to defence, and how difficult are you to be broken down? But certainly we want to try attack teams. We want to try have a go. No matter if we're home and away, whoever we play, we want to try have a go and win the game.
All right. Well, I know I'm sure students are probably off campus by now, but
Yeah.
can you give me just a quick overview of what that off season looks like? If, the non-playing season, the spring, what players are doing, what that looks like?
Yeah, so as of right now, the players are resting up. Some we have a handful of players that they might be overseas playing over the summer, or we have one or two girls involved in um, the summer league programs here in the US. So they're continuing to play right now. As for the vast majority of our team, they're just resting up and recovering right now. Spring season can be kind of long and repetitive, especially during that initial period when you've got a lot of restrictions. So I kind of made it clear to them, once school finishes, take a few weeks, recover, reset, physically and mentally, and then we'll get ready to go. Actually, next week, so the first week of June is when they begin their kind of off season conditioning packets and working through that stuff ahead of the fall season. So they'll just continue working through that, and we'll see them Sunday, August 13th, sooner rather than later, probably, because I know how quickly things go by. So it'll be here before you know it.
Absolutely. Yeah. The summer's flying. My kid's last
Yeah.
day of school is Friday, and I can't even believe it. But
Right.
anyway, um, well, we've talked about a lot of things, but I like to end these kind of the same way, which is what if you could give one piece of advice for players, parents, anybody in this process, what would be the one thing you would want to make sure that they know, that they think about, that they consider when it comes to college soccer?
So I think the biggest thing is it's one, just shop around. I think do your research, do your due diligence on the schools that you're looking at. Do they have the right major that I'm looking for? Um, can I see myself featuring? Is there opportunities to play? Um, is there, do they play the type of soccer that I have the characteristics for? Um, a lot. There's a lot of questions, but I think shop around. Just do your research and find a good fit for you, because ultimately it's somewhere where you want to spend, certainly the next 4 years of your life. So it has to be something that you're going to commit to um and see yourself being there for 4 years. So again, shop around all different levels. Do your research. There's options for everybody. So I think it's really important if you do your research, then you'll no doubt find a good option for yourself.
Well, I couldn't agree more, Coach. And hopefully, folks are doing some of that research, listening to these types of
Yeah,
interviews to find out schools they didn't know existed, or to make those matches. So really appreciate you giving us your time, so that people can hear from you and find out about West Liberty. And wish you the best of luck for your first season at the helm in the fall. And if you get down to Bradenton for any of the recruiting events down here, make sure you give me a call. All right.
All right. Thanks, Matt. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.